Hello and welcome to Quick Chats and Big Ideas, where we spotlight the latest insights from Griffith Business School's leading researchers. Today, in celebration of Indigenous Business Month, we are joined by Professor Kerry Bodle. She is a nationally recognised leader in Indigenous business education. Kerry is a proud descendant of the Wakka Wakka Nation and has been instrumental in embedding Indigenous knowledge into business education and driving meaningful change. So thank you for joining us, Kerry. So as I mentioned in the intro, you have been described as a leader in Indigenous business education. For those listening who don't know you, can you explain to us the work that you do?
Sure. So thanks for inviting me. I think it's just such a great opportunity, and especially around Indigenous Business Month. So at the heart of my commitment to embedding Indigenous knowledges, what I've been doing is obviously looking at our business curriculum and ensuring that, what our students are going to take away with their graduate outcomes of being able to culturally capable when engaging with First Nations people. And so what we need to do is make sure that we not only bringing the value to our Indigenous students, because they get a sense of pride knowing that their truth-telling stories are within the curriculum, but we also have so that our non-Indigenous students are getting exposed to what it is, why it's important to have culture embedded into our business degrees, so that when they graduate, we are educating future leaders that are going to have authentic, sort of the non-tokenistic type of education and knowledge in their, in their future careers.
Mm. Yeah, so you were instrumental in reimagining the way that the Bachelor of Business and our MBA programs are run by embedding that knowledge into the curriculum. I'm interested to hear your perspective on what impact you think it has already have and in the future.
It took a couple of years to obviously reimagine what a new Bachelor of Business was going to look like. So from that, I'd already been teaching and had developed a solo standalone Indigenous business course. And so I'd already had a bit of research that I'd undertaken while I was doing that. And it was really evident that we had pretty much 90% of the students were international students. So there was a genuine interest for those that were going to be wanting to get their residency and obviously potential, spend their life here, to know about our history. So when we reimagined the Bachelor of Business, it was then evident that we already had some great resources to build our foundation courses, and then we actually have been running it now for a couple of years, and in that time we've successively started to embed it into our second year, our third year, our what we call our mountaintop, and eventually our MBA. And so just in the last month I did a report and I looked at, we've got over 46 courses that have Indigenous content in it. We've had it coupled with our staff who have been undergoing cultural competency training. They've even been really innovative because obviously resources need to be updated. They're starting to feel really comfortable and confident in building further some added contemporary new ideas into their courses. And of the feedback, both students and the staff, it's just been amazing how they've I suppose the most thing is that they felt like it was a hot potato at first because they didn't want to say something wrong, and they didn't have a real full understanding of its its purpose in a business degree. But overwhelmingly, we've got some great feedback and obviously some success, real good success that we're obviously going to move further and try and progress it even more.
That's so good. I just touching on the cultural competency for staff, I did that and I did find it really useful. And like you say, sometimes you would be scared of saying the wrong thing. So undertaking a course like that just gives you that little bit more knowledge and understanding so that when you're moving forward, you feel more confident in what you can say.
The main thing is that we're never really given a platform where we can actually have a one-on-one questions and, teasing into, things that you may not have known about or questions that you didn't feel culturally safe in asking. You can take your your purpose of being there, like for a staff member or a convener, they can take their course profile and they can say, well, look, I've got these topics. This is this is my expert area, but I've never really, sort of thought of how an Indigenous piece would fit into there. And so you get that expertise from Dr. Kerry Bodle, who's our learning and teaching person from the Deputy Vice-Chancellor Indigenous Office. And that's her job, is to build the curriculum framework, to keep building and running the cultural competency things. So we can't do one without the other. And that's probably one of the recommendations I had made for this month, is that, we keep on top of that anyone that's going to be teaching anything with Indigenous content in it, they need to do that cultural competency workshop.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. I am really interested to hear a little bit more about your heritage and your family story, because I know your mother was part of the stolen generation, and I'd like to know how you think that has impacted your ideas around education and leadership.
Okay, yeah. So I've been, very disconnected from my culture, never grew up with it, and it's only through the latter years of my mum's life that I found out that she was born in Cherbourg. How that came about was obviously her mother had been, at the age of 2, it's probably similar to like being a ward of the state. She was assigned on a work permit, and at the age of 29 she fell pregnant to a white man, and because of not admitting to paternity, she got shipped off to Cherbourg. My mum was born there, and then she was taken from there at about the age of 3, which was one. I think you hear about the government policies that were trying to assimilate and all those sort of things. So that my mum was part of that. Given that I started reconnecting when I came to Griffith in 1995, because I knew that there was, an Indigenous connection, but I didn't know the real story. So I started off on my journey as a Bachelor of Business student. I was majoring in accounting, obviously no Indigenous content in the business degree, but at the same time, I'm walking this world of trying to find my cultural identity. We fast forward quite a number of years, having, walked the path of being, sort of a business student, doing my honours, getting a job with Griffith, being in the accounting department, doing a PhD in mainstream accounting. And then it evolved that the Dean Learning and Teaching at that stage had asked me to develop this standalone course. And so when I started developing it, obviously I developed it and I was told I could do a bit better job than that because it really was very traditional. And I went back and I thought, the only way I know how to do this is through storytelling. So I started to look at all the aspects of the history, what happened to our people, and I embedded my story into it. And so that's how it's all come about. So it's just an evolution of, I've been in a Salvation Army home most of my life, coming out and the cycles of, the traumas that we go through, I lived them too. And so today, when we see Indigenous people that they talk about the intergenerational trauma, sometimes it's still present today. So that's why we've got to be really culturally sensitive, to how we approach bringing the Indigenous content into our business degree. But moreover, I think when we have authentic, really truth-telling stories from actual experience, I think you get I think anyone that's listening and learning actually get that epiphany moment, that light bulb moment of, I understand.
Quite the journey.
It is.
It really
it has
is.
been, yes.
Amazing.
30 years.
Well done.
Yep.
Yeah. So the reason we're here is October is Indigenous Business Month. What do you think is so important about this initiative for businesses and communities?
Okay, so what I mentioned before is one of the key questions that we pose is, why is culture important in a business context? So Griffith is a value-driven university that's high on our top number one mission for our purpose and everything. So it became evident that people are at the core of Griffith's purpose. And of that, we've got many different cultures. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people are not alone in this journey. So it was up to me to show how we could embed something that has never been done before, and how we could take that into a business context. So we're not only talking about, the business as in, well, everyone's going to have a job. So you're going to work in an organisation. It doesn't matter whether it's in health, education, some private sectors, public sectors, government, wherever. We're going to have to work for an employee. Within that context, there's going to be that elephant in the room, which is how do we engage with Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people? And so through the business curriculum development, we are looking at, racism. We're looking at, any of the government and HR policies that we need to know about. It also means that we have not only just individuals, but we've also got businesses and also communities that we have to, obviously be aware of why it's important to make sure we have the whole content. Because in the government sense, we've got billions of dollars that have been poured into Indigenous business. And that's why it's such an important time of the month now that we understand how we value the accidental Indigenous business owners, the entrepreneurs. They're now, making a real mark for themselves, and we have to value what they contribute to the society.
And one of the things we do at Griffith is celebrate some of our Indigenous alumni through the Outstanding Alumni Awards. We've had some really incredible winners in those categories too, haven't we?
You have. 2019, I was the winner for the business school, but I also took out the overarching, the Griffith University alumni. We've also had Lisa Wattigo, who is alumni, and she was actually created the South East Queensland Indigenous Chamber of Commerce, and that's now statewide. We've also got the Black Coffee events. So it was her idea to connect business owners who really were struggling with understanding how to run their business, how to, balance their books and using cash and different ideas like that, the financial literacy. Yeah, so we've also got Delvine Cockatoo Collins, who designed the Commonwealth Games back in the day. We've got Nick Williams. We've got, quite a few. So they're all
doing
Griffith
amazing.
Business School alumni.
Yeah,
and Indigenous leaders too.
So good to see. So this year's theme for Indigenous Business Month is Strength Through Collaboration. What does that theme mean to you personally?
Personally, I wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't for collaboration, reconciliation, the strength and resilience that we've got. I have found, especially in the last 5 years, I've got I call her my invisible champion, and she knows who I'm talking about, that has been just absolutely amazing with helping me navigate the university administration and everything else I do, but also someone that when I do tend to falter, she's the one that dusts me off and says, "Come on, Kerry, you can do this," and helps me charge on. And probably the last 4 years in jumping from being a senior lecturer to an associate professor, and currently at the beginning of this year I got my professorship, and that's all thanks to collaboration, honestly.
And support.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so good. What do you think some of the biggest barriers are facing Indigenous businesses at the moment?
Probably it's sort of like a double-edged sword. The governments have put in these government initiatives through the Closing the Gap, procurement policies, which means that they can have joint ventures with huge publicly listed companies, trying to build up the supply chain, trying to embed more of the Indigenous businesses in that loop. However, they do suffer from barriers of access to capital, things like their misunderstandings of who they are, their identity. One example is superannuation, and I just did a paper in the Conversation recently about identity. And so whenever our mob go for loans, they have to prove who they are. Some of them don't have licenses or addresses. And then if you go through for superannuation, you might find that they don't know who they are. They will find it really difficult to organise to get their super back, because they usually have it left to kin, and a big term in our mob's language is kinship, and we treat it like biological family, whereas if you leave it to somebody that is, we would raise other people's kids as our own, and we would leave money to people who we don't know, or not don't know, but who the government would not recognise legally as being theirs. So you can see that there's lots of barriers, and I think even still we've got racism, we've still got, separation in obviously in politics. So we've really got some different things that will be very difficult for our business owners. But regardless, I just want to say that we just have to be so, sort of looking at in admiration of the innovation and entrepreneurship our mob are, that they'll come out of usually developing businesses because they're trying to get out of the vicious cycle of trauma. Maybe it's some healing processes, but mostly it's about, self-determination, creating a business that they can hand on to their own family and kin, and obviously feeling that, they're contributing to the economy.
I think there has been quite a lot of progress, but there's still a long way to go.
Yes.
I'm interested to hear what you think about the next generation of Indigenous business leaders, and given how far we've come, but how far there is to go, how do you feel about the next generation, and is it exciting?
Oh, absolutely. That was probably something that I used to say to myself, if I got a mantra that I would, keep myself going, because again, I've obviously gone to ground at different times when things get frustrating, and I always call myself that little mosquito in the room to shoo me away when I'm saying, but we need to do this or we need to do that. When I retire, which is not too far away, I know that I'm going to be handing it over to some amazing people, and it's not just necessarily Indigenous people. I feel really confident that the staff that we've got here now, that the complete culture change within being value driven means that we've got sustainability of what we're going to do. We've already done this. That the kids that I say kids, I think that the kids that we've met and the future leaders that we've got, we have some amazing young ones that are coming in, especially through, we've got, somebody in our social marketing. She's just killing it with, getting in research income and the areas that she's going into. We've got another one in Indigenous career management strategies, so employment's going to be looking really good. We've got a couple in our government, policy area, and I think one of them's just coming back from overseas from the United Nations. So, you think about that, and then you look at the community, it is just popping up with some of the most amazing, resilient people, and I think it's thanks to our elders and our traditional owners that, are coming in and helping us through, obviously, the reconciliation and collaboration, co-designing, all that sort of thing is really going to be our way of looking at some of the issues we've got today, which is the sustainability development goals. We've got, climate change. We've got closing the gap initiatives, trying to bring back education, our health and business, obviously. So, yeah, it's exciting. I'd love to be able to sit back and watch this from the retirement seat.
Yeah. Oh, that's so nice. Yeah. So do you have any advice then for these people that are coming up for the future?
Yeah, I think if I take something of a conversation I had with a couple of my PhD students as they're coming through, it's about trust, and it's a two-way journey, because we don't normally, I'm talking about mob, have that way that we've, obviously been over-researched, we've been let down so many times, and we keep dusting ourselves off and coming back to being bigger and stronger. And all I say is that, it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up. But the thing is, we hold the secret to how Australia is going to survive and be sustainable in the future. We're going to have to come back to the traditional ways that we would, look after bushfire management, our medicinal purposes, looking after flora, fauna. We've got secrets of, how we would run business that's not just about profit. So they're the ones that I say to them, you hold the key to our future. So just dust yourself off. Don't take anything personal. Try and work with people that you can trust, and there's always someone there that will be a really good guide and mentor for you. And I hope I can do that from the sideline.
What a positive note to end on.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us, Kerry. It was a wonderful chat, and we really appreciate your time. And as we said at the beginning, Indigenous Business Month runs from the 1st to 30th of October this year. So looking forward to celebrating that.
Yes, and I hope everybody listening to this, it's not just that we're, invisibly fitting in to trying to do things that are ticking boxes. This is about making our future brighter, but inclusive, in collaboration with Indigenous and non-Indigenous everybody. It's everybody's business.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.